The lesson on order of operations. Again, this is nothing really new to y'all. Y'all have done this since elementary school, really. But let's just do a really quick review. Remember, we used the sentence, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse. I'm going to put my dear and Aunt Sally on the same line because we really do those at the same time. Some of you say PEMDAS to help you remember that, but whatever works for you, that is fine. Remember, P stands for parentheses. And remember, parentheses can be parentheses like you're used to seeing. They may be brackets. And something that we've never really talked about before, you've probably never been told before, I want you to remember too that a fraction bar can be a type. We're going to treat it like parentheses, meaning if I have 3 plus 2 over 12, I have to do the top and the bottom of the fraction bar before I do the division with the fraction bar. Does that make sense? Am I making that clear? What I'm saying is I would have to do this 3 plus 2 first, and then I'd have 5 over 12, and I would have to do that division. Okay? So what I want you to see is we're going to treat the fraction bar like a parenthesis. We'll do some, and I think you'll understand better what I'm trying to say. Our E stands for exponents. Exponents. I hope I spelled that right. And then we're going to do what? We're going to multiply and divide. Now, does multiplication always come before division? No, not necessarily. We're going to do them at the same time, but we're going to go left to right. Okay? Same thing with add and subtract. We're going to do them at the same time, but we're going to go left to right. Okay, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS, okay, whatever you want to do to remember it. And then just remember parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, left to right, addition and subtraction, left to right. And remember, parentheses can be normal parentheses, they may be brackets, but we also have to treat that fraction bar like it's a parenthesis. Okay? All right, so look at some examples. 2 to the 6th power. Well, we talked about in yesterday's lesson that 2 to the 6th, that 2 is the base, 6 is the exponent, so that really means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 6 times. And if I ask you to solve that, what are you going to do? Well, the easy thing for me, I like to do it this way. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And 16 times 4 is 64. So 2 to the 6th power is 64. Okay? That's a pretty easy one. All right, look at the next one. I'm going to change colors just so we don't get problems mixed up. All right. Looking at this one, following my order of operations, parentheses, there are not any. Okay? Exponents. I have exponents in there, so I need to do that first. 48 divided by 2 to the 3rd. Well, I can come over here and figure that out. 2 to the 3rd is what? 4 times 2 is 8 times 3 plus 5. Okay? If it helps you, I like the practice that y'all learned when you were younger about underlining what you're doing in each step. Maybe that'll help you keep it straight and not leave something out. A very common mistake that I see people make is they get so worked up in working one little section, then they'll leave off the plus 5 or something like that at the end. So be careful that you don't do that. All right, working out, I did no parentheses, did my exponents. What comes next? Please excuse my dear, multiplication and division, left to right. So here's a case where, can I go ahead and do that 8 times 3 first? No, because I've got to do multiplication and division left to right. So what's going to come first? That division right there. What's 48 divided by 8? 6, and then I have my times 3 plus 5. Now 6 times 3, continuing with my multiplication and division, is 18, and 18 plus 5 is 23. So my final answer is 23. Again, this is fairly easy stuff. It's a review, okay, from pre-algebra and all the way down into elementary school with this order of operations. But again, just make sure you're following them and you're doing them step by step. Don't try to skip steps on me or you're going to get yourself messed up. Okay, some more examples. 8 minus 3 times 3 times 3 plus 2. Okay, again, following my order of operations tells me to do what? Parentheses. So I'm going to do my first parentheses. I've got several. So again, I'm just going to go left to right. 8 minus 3 is 5 times 3 plus 2. All right, again, doing my parentheses. 3 plus 2 is 5. So I've got 5 times 3. And what does that mean when that 3 is written right next to those parentheses? It means to multiply, right? 3 times 5. Again, working multiplication and division, left to right. When I got here and it's all multiplication, would it have been a big deal if I didn't do them in that order? No. Okay, because multiplication is commutative, but we're just going to follow with that pattern. So I have 15 times 5, and 15 times 5 is 75. Now, here's the question some of you have going on in your head. When you had this, some of y'all are saying to me right here, why did you not do the distributive property? And I could have. But why, when I can work what's in those parentheses, would I do that? You're just making life harder on yourself. Okay? I could have gone 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times plus 6, and then I would have still gotten, and then that times 3, both of those times 3. But why would I do that to myself? Or excuse me, times the 5. Because I can work what was in those parentheses, go ahead and do that. All right? If there's a variable in there, you don't have the option. Yes, you've got to do that distributive property. But if you worked it this way, I can go, okay, 8 minus 3 is 5 times 3 times 3 is 9 plus 3 times 2 is 6, and that's going to be my 15, and then I got my 5 times my 15. All right, but you don't have to don't make it where you can more steps for yourself are more likely to make a careless mistake. If there's a variable in there, yes, you've got to do the distributive property, but if you can solve what's in the parentheses, then do it. Make it easier for you. Okay, look at the next example. All right, on this one, I've got a lot going on here. All right, if I follow my order of operations, parentheses, wow, I have brackets and I have parentheses. What do I do when I have more than one set of parentheses? You're going to go to the ones that are most inside first. So most inside, I've got 6 minus 2. And 6 minus 2 is 4. And then I've got to put the rest of my things down here. All right, now I'm still on parentheses because I still have brackets, and we said brackets are just like parentheses. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so I've got 4 times 3 to the second power. Okay, because what does that mean when that 4 is written right next to those brackets? It means to multiply. Now I did parentheses. What comes next? Exponents. So that's not like 12. You can't go 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 to the second power. That's not correct. That's not, you're doing multiplication before exponents if you do that. I have to do my exponents first. So 3 to the second power is 9, and 4 times 9 is 36. So that one worked all the way out, step by step, is going to give me 36. Okay? All right, look at the next one. This is one where my fraction bar has to be treated like parentheses. Could I do this problem without working out what's on the numerator, the top first, and then working out what was on the denominator? I couldn't do that division. There's no way to do that division until I worked both of those out. So that's what I'm saying, that sometimes we have to treat that fraction bar like a parenthesis. So I'm going to just work on the top here. Following my order of operations on the top, I've got parentheses, no, don't have any. Exponents, yes, I've got 2 to the 5th power. So I've got to figure out what 2 to the 5th power is. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's 4. That's 4. That's 16 times 2 is 32. So I've got 32 minus 6 times 2. All right, working down here at the bottom. Again, I have no parentheses down there at the bottom. I've got 3 exponents, 3 to the 3rd. So 3 times 3 times 3. That's 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. So I've got 27 minus 5 times 3 minus 2. Okay, let me erase all this down here just so I'll have room to continue. All right, continuing on. At the top, there weren't any parentheses. I've done my exponents. Next is going to come multiplication and division left to right. So I've got 6 times 2. So I've got 32 minus 12. Working on my bottom down here, I've got multiplication is next. So I've got 27 minus 15 minus 2. All right, continuing on, I'm just going to come down here. Continuing on with my top, that's pretty easy at this point. It's just subtraction, and 32 minus 12 is 20. And now continuing on the bottom, 27 minus 15. If you can't do those in your head, you know it's fine to come over here and write those down. So I have 12 minus 2. Okay, continuing on. My top is finished. 20 divided by 12 minus 2 is 10. And I'm saying divided by, that's over, because what does the fraction bar really mean? Division. And what is 20 divided by 10 is going to be equal to 2. So again, that was an example of how sometimes we have to treat that fraction bar like a parenthesis, meaning we've got to do what's in the numerator or what's in the denominator first before we can deal with the actual fraction part of it. Okay? One last example and you'll be done for tonight. All right, again, we can do the same thing, just plugging in the numbers. All right, if I've given you, if x is equal to whatever and so on, then we just plug those in. So, and then we just work the problem. So 2 times x is 4, 4 to the 2nd power, minus y, which is 3, plus z, which is 2 to the 2nd power. Again, following my order of operations, parentheses, but I'll look in my parentheses on this one, and I've got several operations in my parentheses. So I have to follow order of operations in my parentheses. And knowing that would be parentheses and then exponents, so I've got to do that exponent first. So that's 2 times 4 to the 2nd power is 16 minus 3 plus 2 to the 2nd power. All right, still working on my parentheses. 2 times 16 minus 3 is 13 plus 2 to the 2nd power. All right, parentheses are done. And again, I left my parentheses there. I could have written that, if that bothers you, as 2 times 13. Those parentheses are there, but is there anything I have to do in them? No. Because what does that mean when that 2 was written right next to those parentheses? It means to multiply. So you could have left the parentheses around the 13. Parentheses are done because there's nothing but a 13 in them. Okay, does that make sense? Doing my exponents now, 2 times 13 plus 4. Okay, multiplication and division, 2 times 13 is 26, and 26 plus 4 is going to equal to 30. So my final answer on that one is 30. Okay? All right, just remember your order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division left to right, addition and subtraction left to right. Have a great night. See you tomorrow. Remember, Jesus loves you.